We have so far just been bringing stuff from Lightroom into Photoshop. Now I'm going to go ahead and look at just making something in Photoshop itself. So to do that, I'm going to go back to magical Photoshop thing. There's a photograph here. You know, it's a nice photograph, but I don't need it. So I'm going to close that out using Command W. Boom, that's gone. So now I'm going to make a new document. Do that by File, New. And it's going to give you a bunch of options here. You can name it. Usually I just name it when I save it. I can give it a width, height, resolution, color mode, bit depth, background, whatever's, color profile. For this, let's just make it 1080 by 720. You can make it something else if you want. If you do make it 1080, make sure it's pixels, not inches. RGB, 8-bit, transparent, sure, working RGB, Adobe RGB 1998. Adobe RGB 1998, remember, it's a good color space. Excuse me, goodness, let's do it. Okay, so here we have F, full screen, Command plus, zoom in a little bit. Here we have this document. Now there is nothing in it, right? Like that's why we have this goofy grid. That goofy grid signals transparency, right? Because how do you show transparency? Well, you can't because it's invisible. So Photoshop and a lot of other things like represent it using this grid, just the way it is. So to talk a little bit about layers and layer order, we're going to draw some shapes. I'm going to, and they're following along handout number 4, which is over there on my monitor if you want to reach through and look at it, or you can just pull it up. I'm going to draw some shapes. I can draw those shapes by coming down here on the toolbar, and I'm going to make a triangle. Right, so click and hold, there's rectangle, rounded rectangle, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to make a triangle. I want to make my triangle some particular color. So I come down here to my colors, right here we're default black and white. If I click on my foreground color, it's the foreground because it's in front. I can make it some other color. I'll choose magenta. Now this shape has a bunch of contextual menu, right? Remember that from that last clip? Contextual menu things. Right now it's drawing a shape. I don't want that. I want pixels, right? Shape, it's vector based. It's a whole other thing. Don't even bother yourself about it. Just come up here and set it to pixels. Awesome sauce. And now let's draw. Whoa. That's awesome. Okay, cool. That was cool. Let's go ahead and draw a different shape. I'm going to go down here to the rectangle tool. Right, again, click and hold, choose rectangle, choose a color. I'm going to make this one blue. And I'm going to be like, yeah, blue rectangle. And then I'm going to do another one. I'm going to do a polygon. Make a yellow polygon. That's a fairly dirty yellow. Okay, that's cool, but the order of them is kind of goofy. I'd like to have that pink triangle in front, so I'm going to go back here and grab it, and oh my god, they're all one thing. I can't get my triangle back. I can't get my rectangle back. They're all stuck together. That, my friends, is because they're all on one layer. Right? If I have 2 pixel things on one layer, any pixel I put down on there overwrites a pixel that's there previously. So if I go in here and grab the brush and draw a smiley face, right? The smiley face pixels overwrite the blue rectangle pixels underneath them. So that is a layer, right? One place you put a bunch of pixels there. If you write things on those pixels on that layer, you overwrite whatever those pixels were before. If you were to go in and erase them, right, it would be the same thing. If you hit E for erase, right, right, I'm erasing those pixels. Now, that's fine, especially in this case where this is pretty dumb looking. But most of the time we want to use layers to keep our different pixel-based content separate. How do we do that? I'm going to hit Command A to select all and hit backspace to delete, or I guess the delete key to delete. And I'm going to go back and repeat, sorry, Command D, deselect all. I'm going to go back and draw a triangle again, magenta triangle, awesome. There we go. That's pretty. And then I want to draw a big rectangle again, but I want it to be able to move independently of this triangle. How do we do that? We make a new layer. So over here in the layers palette, again, if you don't see it, window, layers, right, should be there. In the layers palette, we have a thing there. It says layer 1, right? That is the layer that we are currently on. Has a little eyeball. If I turn the eyeball on and off, that layer is hidden or shown. If I double click on the words layer 1, it allows me to rename it triangle. That's not spelled right. Triangle. If you go and click on it and you get this thing, just hit cancel. You did not click properly on the text. Double click on the text part. That's what you want. So cool, I've made a layer, it's called triangle. So if I go and make a rectangle, oh, don't do it yet. Don't do it yet. You're gonna screw it up. If I go to make a rectangle, what I want to do first is I want to make a new layer. So I'm going to come down here to, in my layers palette, this little box with a plus in it. Now, in previous versions of Photoshop, it was a little icon that looked like a post-it note. In either case, if you hover your mouse over it, it will say, create new layer. So click that, create new layer. Now there is a new layer right there above our triangle. I am going to double click the layer name, call it rectangle, because I know what it's going to be. I'm going to make sure that I am on that layer, right, that I have that layer selected. If I select the triangle layer and draw a rectangle, it's going to be on the triangle layer. Don't want that. Rectangle, blue, awesome, have that rectangle selected, and sweet, look at that sweet, sweet blue rectangle. And then I'm going to make another layer, come down here, hit that little plus. I'm going to call it Polygon, and I'm going to come over here, select, wrong tool, select that, Polygon, click the color, make it yellow, bright yellow, that looks beautiful, and draw that polygon in there. Holy smokes, that's great. I am a freaking genius. So with all of those there, right, I can turn each of the individual layers on or off. I can drag one of the layers above one of the others. And perhaps most importantly, I can go over here and grab the move tool, which is a lovely little chaos arrow. You can also get it by hitting V for move on the keyboard. With that selected, if I come up here to my contextual menu, right now it's set to auto select layer. That is awesome. We want that to be checked. And I can just move those things around simply by clicking on them. You'll notice as I do that, if you keep your eye down here, as I click on the pink triangle, right, the pink triangle layer is selected. As I click on the yellow polygon layer is selected, right? All that stuff, super great. I can still move these around in whatever order I want. And there you go. That is the magic of pixel layers. A few things in here, show transform controls. I don't like that. I turned it off. Should you turn it off? I don't know. I think it's distracting. That's it. Important takeaways. 1, name your layers. Rename your layers, rename your layers, rename your layers. Rename them something rational. Don't name them layer 2A7L, because like, no, rename them what they are. Like, that's, like, yeah, so basic. Rename your layers and name them rationally, and you will go far, my friend. Cool. So that is introduction to pixel layers, how we make a new layer, and how we change layer order. Up next, we're going to do some much more fun things with pixel layers and do a little bit of compositing with erasure.